Hello, Boston lettuce. You'll see I have my jazz salad book open, and I have also got a Xeroxed page. And the reason I have that is because of this page turn. And, well, the moral of the story is memorize your music, and then you don't have to worry about page turns at all. So this is a moderate Bossa Nova. And there's one little spot where it goes away from Bossa Nova, but still in a Latin style, and you'll see where that is a little later on. There are other Latin styles aside from Brazilian Bossa Nova. So this piece begins with no introduction. It goes right into the theme. So the first 8 bars, the texture changes right there at bar 9. The first 8 bars is basically Bossa Nova texture, which is really 3 layers. The melody, the bass, and then the middle part. Now that middle part is important. Well, they're all important, but it's important in a certain way as it provides sort of the rhythmic subdivision. And in the style of Bossa Nova, typically that part would be played by the guitar, and it probably would be more ongoing. If this were, an ensemble, it would probably be with the melody on top of that. But for solo piano, Bossa Nova, because it has those 3 distinct layers that rhythmically are different from each other, it's maybe one of the more difficult, I think, styles to perform as solo piano. So we sort of make adjustments in the arrangements when we play Bossa Nova solo piano, so it will still convey those elements without necessarily always playing all of them. And I think that's actually kind of a key principle generally in music, is that once you establish a pattern, you can stop playing it. It still goes on in the listener's ear or head as if it were still being played. And part of the magic of music. And I'm going to talk about that in another video in terms of improvising over chord changes, where once I stop playing chords and I'm improvising, the listener still hears those harmonies in their head because they've already been established in the earlier part of the song. That's another video. So, but at bar 9, the texture changes. So at the first 8 bars, it's this sort of triple layer cake kind of texture, 3 things at once. Guitar. Maybe the melody is a vocal part or flute or something like that. It's good to imagine another instrument playing the parts. It's not just piano. It's an upright bass. If you think about that as an instrument, you will color it differently and play it differently, and your solo piano performance will become more alive that way. The flute, of course, you got to bring that out with these 3 fingers that are available, because these fingers are going to be busy in the middle part, and so forth. So at bar 9, the texture changes. Now it's kind of more of a everybody's doing the same thing, homogeneous texture. And then it goes right back into more like 3-part counterpoint. Yeah. Now at 13, modulation. This piece is in F, but now suddenly we're in G. Isn't that nice? I wish there were more modulations in contemporary pop music. That's another story. Can really add a lot to composition. I'm going to jump forward to the solo. Actually, I'm not going to jump forward to the solo. I'm going to talk about the solo when I get to it. All right, so modulation. Now we're in G major. sometimes I compose things and I don't really analyze them until I do the video for you, and then I look at it from a different point of view and I see things I didn't see when I composed it. And what I'm seeing here and asking myself is, does this piece know what key it's in? It starts out in F, then it's in G, and then it's in E. Or is it still in F? I think it's still in F. Solo. Okay, now here, that's where place I was talking about earlier, where for 2 bars, it is not a bossa nova. This is at bar 29. Okay, the main difference is the bass line. Okay, that bass line, it comes out of the Afro-Cuban tradition. It's more of like a mambo. There's nothing on one of the second bar. So just as an aside, just so you know, you're getting a taste of Afro-Cuban Latin, and we'll do a whole piece that's in the Afro-Cuban style, perhaps in the next book. Onward. So the whole solo is basically, I made up some music to go on top of the chord changes. That is not the melody. You can make up your own music to do the same. That's why we have chord changes in the book. So what am I doing? It just makes stuff up, really, honestly. I think I'll break down the sort of analyze the improvisation in a separate video, because I want to talk more about improvisation in another video. So, and if you have questions, fire away. Okay, and then bar 33. Da capo to the fine. Does it end in E major? No, it's still an F major. I'll just say one more thing about improvisation. That's at least one thing I can point out, which is at bar 33. And now we're at 35. Okay, so it's the same 2-bar chord progression, G major 7 to F major 7. And basically the melody, the improv melody, there is a variation of, at 35 is a variation of what is at 33. So 33 you have, and at 35 you have, and that's a technique I use a lot, is melodic variation. Change one note, play the same figure, but just change one note. Like say, for example, this famous song. Okay, just, you know, that much of it. You could play it, if you're going to play it twice. So you keep some of the original and then you change some of the original to be different. And thereby repetition with a little bit of variation, you have something new. All right, we'll talk more about improvisation in a separate video. That's Boston Lettuce. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for listening.